This is going to be part one of a video series that I'm making here in order to basically take a M18 platform tool. For instance, what I'm going to be using it on and doing this to will be a Milwaukee M18 2.5 gallon shop vac. However, I have heard stories of people doing something similar with leaf blowers, using leaf blowers to be able to remotely turn them on and off to, let's say, force air into something like a kiln to get it a little bit hotter for smelting metal and things of that nature. So this is going to serve as a proof of concept to prove that this is an option that does work. It is possible, and in the later series we're going to be making it a little bit better, compacting everything down so that everything can fit inside of the shop vac here, as well as maintain, close the lid and maintain that pack out functionality. Otherwise though, we're going to be doing this using just all parts that are readily available off of the shelf, whether you can get them from Amazon or eBay or something similar. The idea is to basically take parts, again, readily available, and be able to do this conversion. So what we have here, again, this is something that someone may recognize. This is what it takes a M18 battery and adapts it to standard power outputs that are fused. So this way you could use this for something like a power wheels to get rid of the lead acid battery and convert it to something like the lithium that the M18 platform runs on. Again, this is just simply plugs in like any other tool. Don't have to worry about these being hot because there's no fuse there. But this basically gives you an idea on what we're going for here. So after that, we have our control board. Again, this is a readily available pack. This is on Amazon. We're going to put links to everything down in the description below. So if this is something that you want to do, you can go ahead and follow along and do the same exact thing. This has, your very simple DC input with a DC output. So you have your input, output, very simple. This ranges anywhere from 12 to 72 volts with a max load of about 30 amps. You can see that this wire, it's pretty thick gauge, and then you have your antenna right here, and then you have your remote control here as well. So this is just a simple on and off. However, you also have a physical on and off on the actual unit itself. You will still be able to maintain the functionality of the shop vac, being able to use the switches here on the side. And then getting into the final piece of this puzzle is this piece right here. So with this piece, this is going to make it so you don't need to cut anything, take anything apart, or solder or modify anything directly on the actual tool, on that shop vac. So the idea here is that you might recognize this if you're familiar with it at all. This is the upper half of a M18 and DeWalt conversion. So the idea here is that this would go into a M18 tool, and then down here you would have your 20 volt adapter that you'd plug in your DeWalt 20 volt batteries, and that way you could run your Milwaukee tools off your DeWalt batteries. However, for the purposes of this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing this lower half of the clamshell, and we're only going to be chasing after the power leads here. We're going to have to extend this one right here just a little bit longer so they're at least even, and then we can at least splice into the wireless module. But basically the idea here is you could take this module, right, and you maintain the OEM specification and operation of your shop vac, where you could just take it, plug it in, and that's it. It'll work. There's no cutting, and that's it. The idea here is we can get rid of the wedge tool that typically resides here, and hopefully we'll be able to take this wireless module and shove it off to the side, either there or somewhere else, potentially up in here, and run everything, and still obviously close the lid and maintain that functionality of the pack house system. So that's the main goal that we're going for here. Again, this is going to be just a proof of concept. So what we're going to be doing is just bench testing everything prior to doing a hard soldering and build out of everything. This way we know, everything works. We have everything configured as it should be, and that way we can, try to build everything out the way that it needs to be, so this way everything will work. So we'll clear out the work area real quick, and we'll start just twisting some wires together and showing that this is a platform and an idea that will work. So again, this is the proof of concept right now, so we're going to begin with wiring everything together on just the bench here and assembling everything bit by bit and approaching this as just a concept at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our power supply coming into our input here on our control unit. Very simple wiring here, nothing too crazy by any means. Simply red to red, black to black at this point, and that's what we're going to start with. We're going to put a little bit of tape over these just to alleviate and keep all of the conductors separate from each other, so you don't have any sparks flying or anything of that nature, just to keep everything again separate. So again, taking that supply to the supply or the input on the control unit here, we're going to start with input to input. So power coming in, power coming in. Tape these up real quick. This way we know that everything is hooked up correctly and we don't have to worry about anything shorting out. We're going to take our fuse here. So this is a 20 amp fuse. This is going to be our circuit protection here from the power to the control unit. We're gonna go ahead and pop this in. So now you see that we have that fuse installed here. Everything's operating as it should. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a quick little bench test just to verify that the control unit here that sends that wireless signal is in fact working. So we're gonna go ahead and supply power. And that way everything's hot, everything's working. And then we're gonna take our remote control here and we're gonna go ahead and hit on. And you can see now it's lighting up and now it's on. When you hit off, it goes off. You hit on, it goes on. Hit off, it goes off. So both remote controls work. Again, we're gonna have links to everything in the description below. This control unit did come with 2 remotes. However, there are different versions available that will increase the distance. So if you need this to be set up to be farther away from you for whatever reason, and you wanna be able to actuate it and turn it on, you can again get remote controls that will be able to turn that on, as well as you not only have the remote control functionality, but you can also physically turn it on by pressing the on button on the actual control unit itself. So again, you have 3 different ways to turn it on, and that way you have all different kinds of options more or less. So now the idea, we're going to move to connecting this up to a tool. So we're going to take the output here on this wireless sending unit, and we're going to go ahead and connect it up to the M18 adapter that we've developed, that we've made out of the DeWalt adapter. So we're going to go ahead and just twist these leads together real quick. Nothing too fancy by any means. Again, we're just bench testing this assembly right now, so it doesn't need to be anything too crazy and or permanent. So again, twist it up and then apply a little bit of tape. This way, you can take those leads and make sure that they're not shorting to each other or anything similar. So there you go, the red is done. And now we're gonna do the same thing here on the black line. So again, we're gonna take this, tie it up, and apply a little bit of tape to it. This way nothing can ground out to each other. And there we go. So now we have a complete circuit. We're intercepting the power from the M18 battery. It's going to be going through a control unit here that's going to allow us to wirelessly send power further down that circuit. So the idea now is that we can take a M18 tool, like our shop vac here, we could open her up. What we're going to do is we're going to turn it on so it's always in the on position. So once this gets power, it should start running, sucking, or blowing, depending on how you have it configured with the hose on either side of the tool. Then we're going to take our adapter here, try to get a good shot of this for everybody so you can see at least out of there. And again, because of us using this adapter, we're not cutting or doing any modifications to this. This is brand new out of the box, essentially, completely bone stock. So we're gonna take this, pop it down into the tool itself, and there you go. It's in, ready to roll. Now what we can do is take our battery here, and now we have power being supplied to the circuit. Obviously we still have our fuse, everything is protected here if that something here were to short out at least. So now the idea is that we'll be able to hit the on button here, and let's say we're doing something with this, we're using this as almost as a smoke tester where it's blowing air, but you have this on top of a car and the car's on a lift, and instead of lowering the entire vehicle down to get to it and do what you got to do, you can just hit a button on the remote and now that tool will work. So now the idea here, again, as you can see, everything's working as it should. Again, this is just proof of concept at this point, confirming that this setup and that this wiring is possible, and that the tool won't tweak out, not being able to communicate necessarily with the battery. And the battery is just blindly sending power, but we're able to control that power using the remote. And that's basically it. Other than that though, this has again just been a proof of concept just to show that it is successful. In our next part, we're going to try to button this up and kind of make this a little bit more compact, so this way we can have the battery, the adapter, as well as the entire control unit and everything shoved in here and maintain it, again, without doing any kind of modification to the tool itself. Probably just taking up the space here that the crevice tool would use right here, the wedge tool. Basically, we're going to probably remove this, and that way you can just use the wireless unit in here and then still be able to close the lid. So again, we're going to go over that in the next video, making this assembly work. But again, this was just proof of concept to show that it does work and it's possible to make everything run off a remote. And that's basically it. Again, if you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll try to get to them. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. Again, have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.